Hello and welcome to the Little Minds Big Ideas podcast with the Early Years Network, the podcast where we talk all things early years from inside and outside the wonderful industry. Today I am finally joined with Hayley Winter, who you may know from Instagram as All About Early Years. She shares her journey as an early years lead, early years teacher, and she's done so many different roles in early years. So today in this episode, we're going to be talking about the big O. We're going to talk about Ofsted and explore what Ofsted looks like in all these different settings that Hayley has been part of. So first of all, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. You're all welcome. Finally, I'm not again there. I've probably had so many dates in the diary, haven't we? And just the worlds have not lined up, but finally I've got you here. So to start us off, can you tell everyone your journey through early years? Because when we talked before, you've had so many different roles and you've been in so many different settings. So what has it looked like for you?
Definitely. So first of all, it started with all the way back when I didn't know what I wanted to do at school. So I wasn't sure. I was personally a rainbow, a brownie and a guide. And then there was a young leader and a leader. And it was only when I went to leave school and then somebody actually said, well, what about childcare? Because you like volunteering at Rainbows. And I thought, okay, I'll give that a go. So I went to do a temp nursery nurse job, loved it, and that's where it all began. So I've done nursery nurse, I've been a room leader in the nursery room as well. I've done everything from babies to toddlers to preschool, and finally decided that I wanted to start teaching and started with my degree in the University of Northamptonshire and did that alongside being a nursery nurse full time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was not bad, but it was worthwhile. And now I finally was a 1-to-1 TA with a little boy that had autism. And then while doing my degree as well, and then moved over to the school that I'm currently in while doing my third year of my degree as a nursery nurse and TA, before then qualifying as a teacher in the current school I'm at, and then becoming early years leader just 3 weeks before COVID, took school all through COVID, nursery and foundation. And yeah, currently a early years leader and teacher of a 3 elementary school and nursery, which is a 39-place nursery.
Amazing. Keeps you busy then. All of those. I think it's fair to say that you've seen early years from every single position. So when we think about Ofsted and in all of those positions, how many Ofsted inspections have you been a part of?
So as a part of one as a nursery, I've been part of one when I was a 1-to-1 TA, and I've been part of one as a teacher. We are also due one as well as early years leader, so fingers crossed. So I've been part of 3, and those have all been in different roles, and then I'll be part of this 4th one will then be another role.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? How it's the same, not the same inspection, but it's the same thing, but how you can be part of it in so many different elements of the levels within a setting.
Yeah, definitely. Because when I was the 1-to-1 TA, I really didn't have much to do with it at all. They came to literally, it was a class-based thing. My job wasn't invested in what they were doing, engaged in what they were doing at the time. So I took off and did our own activities that was already ready for him and things. And I really didn't have much engagement with that time.
It is interesting, isn't it? Because Ofsted is built up as such a big thing, whereas you as that TA, it was such probably the pressure, and then all of a sudden, we're not actually involved in this, so we can step away.
Yeah, and it's changed over time as well. Being when I was involved in the nursery nurse one as well, they wanted to see planning and everything else like that at that time, and it was a big right, we've got that phone call, and right, where's your planning folders? Let's look at what's going on and what we're going to do that day, and it was always a bit more. You felt pressure, I would say, higher up during that time. And when things have changed, or things have changed in Ofsted, or my perspective has changed, or confidence or anything as well. But now I'm I'm ready. Come on, come out of me. I always show you what we can do.
No, I completely agree with that, because I think when I was an apprentice, the thought of Ofsted absolutely petrified me, because I was like, they're going to talk to you. They're going to talk to you because you're new and they need to know you know everything and your induction's been good. And it's a lot of pressure put on. But now, being involved in more of a leadership role, I'm like, no, come on then. We'll talk about it. But then I'm on the flip side of I shouldn't have to have someone come in and justify everything that we're doing as a team. So I kind of sit on the fence no, I'm really excited about this day because I know we do a fantastic job and let's show everyone. But then I'm like, no, I don't have to justify it to anybody. So it's kind of...
Yeah, definitely. We always say in our school, like, it's just a normal day. We're not going to change anything. So I do. Yeah. We're going to be a bit more sparkly and show people what we do. Yeah. So we're changing nothing. It's just that little extra saying of, if that person's there observing you or coming in the room or anything, greet them, give them a smile. Those really small things can make a big difference as well.
I agree. I always say to people, talk at them.
Yeah.
Just talk at them, and then they will be like, okay, you're done. Okay. I don't need to talk to you anymore.
And they haven't got much time as well. So dependent on their timeline and things of that timetable that they've got, they really haven't got much time to spend. So make sure what you're telling them is quality stuff that you're telling them. You're not just blabbing on as I can do quite hard to do, let me do. But you're telling them the quality stuff, and you're telling them, what's going on or anything. Show them, be prepared of what you want to show them when they're coming into your classroom, what key things they're going to be looking at as well. There's a handbook for a reason. Have a look through it, know what they're going to be asking.
Do you think it's important for everyone to have had a look through the handbook?
Yeah, I do think it is. Or I think it's important everyone has a look through a handbook or has some sort of training with Ofsted or something else like that as well. So even if you are like a member of SLT, that can then give, what are the key pointers of it, because even a big document like the handbook can be really daunting to people. People that don't understand the information or anything, where actually it can be condensed down into really bite-sized chunks of this is what they're looking for, and just those quick reminders or quick looking over it, a term or a year or anything else like that. It should just become natural practice then.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's figuring out what's key for the individual that you're trying to get that information across to, because your nursery managers probably need to have more of an overview of it, but the practitioners might just need to understand what it is they're looking for in terms of knowledge of the children, or how you do your observations, things like that, and tracking development, whereas the managers are looking at the leadership side and how you progress up through, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And also then with schools and nurseries or anything, how that next step and how that skills they're going to be progressed or where they've come from. Yeah. Is it available, for all the children, or if not, why not? And all of those things. And that I regularly do that with my team, once a week or, every other week or something. And I just pop down during my leadership time and I just ask them a few questions. I'll pick an activity and tell me about it. What key vocabulary might they come up with? And that way it's just becoming that natural progression and natural, chat that we have within our everyday, to then know that that's still going to be the same language that they're going to be using when they do come in.
Yes, it's practicing the norm, isn't it? Because even though people know what they're doing all the time, then probably don't talk about it enough. Whereas, like you say, you going down and asking the question, they can, oh yeah, I do know what I was talking about. This isn't a scary question because Hayley asks me this every week.
But it's just giving them that confidence.
Yeah.
It's like everything. Like you don't know unless you give it a go, or you say, no, you do actually know what you're doing. Yeah, but it's right. Or giving them then those small pointers or anything. That's only going to, in the long run, benefit the children and then benefit, when you do get your grading and everything as well.
The Ofsted happen at the journey to work.
So with your
sort of the different roles, what would you say are some of the major differences in a nursery setting and now being in a school? What are the differences you've noticed?
So definitely, like I say, whether or not it's been a progression of Ofsted, a progression of the time or my confidence or anything else like that, it's definitely been, I've had more of an impact and more of a time with Ofsted for the more roles that I've then had going into teaching. I didn't have much to do with them, like I said, on the one-to-one role that I had. When I was a nursery nurse, they came into us and they literally just poked their head at the door. They didn't even spend 10 minutes. And that was it. And I was in the preschool room. And that was sort of about it. I did know some of the rooms they spent longer in, but they really didn't want to spend much time there. While they was in, and just to make that a snap judgment as well, what it's going to be and everything. Whereas when they came into school, I was in nursery as well. So they came in, they spent, it was our morning routine. So they greeted all the parents, they sent the children in, they watched a little bit of a carpet circle time that we did, and then a bit of provision as well. So it was nearly about 45-minute session that I spent with us. Which is obviously a massive difference of timing. And even now, I'm like I said, come on in, because I could spend hours talking about early years. Come and see what we're doing here. This is what we've done. This is why we've done it. And that's the important thing. It's not just this is what we're doing. It's the why we're doing it like this.
Yeah.
But that's really key for Ofsted.
Sometimes when I think about, like you said, the why, it's not always a justification of why, but this is what works for us.
Yeah.
And there's always a reason, or like you said, when you've greeted children in, this child's a little bit extra upset today because her mother usually drops off, has had to go to work early, and explaining those reasons, because if an Ofsted inspector walks in and the child is screaming, it's explaining that you understand the behaviour, you understand why it's happening, and this is what we're going to do to work through it. I guess it's not, like I said, like justifying yourself, but saying like, no, we really do understand these children and we really can work through the emotions from the morning, because I guess a morning will be very different from an afternoon in your environment.
Yeah, definitely. It's just showing that you understand the children, and then showing, like we say, like your why. It's not justification as to this is what works for our nursery or our school or children. Our children, it's not going to work for if you pick it up and put it in a different demographic or anything else like that. This is just what works for our families.
Yeah, I think that's really important, isn't it? Because sometimes we see things online and we think, oh, that's amazing, we'll do that. But actually, have we thought about that impact on our children and our cohort? Because it might not be of any interest to them, or it might not be of any relevance to them. So why would we make a whole shift when actually what we're doing works and it works well?
Yeah, definitely. I think you see that a lot on social media and different things like that, where you think, oh, that looks amazing. The whole thing of, making this natural classroom and everything, and it's going to make such a difference, and throw away all the plastic toys or anything. But what are your children used to, and have they got that imagination to be able to imagine that that's a stick? It's not just a stick, it's a cucumber, it's a wine, there's a car, it's anything else. But yeah, off track a little bit. Yeah, it's always there. I'm always the one. I just take everyone on a tangent. Back to Ofsted, the big O. How do you feel that an Ofsted inspection has impacted your teams, regardless of what team that has been in? Like the leader, during, after, how do you feel that has, their visit has impacted? It's without a doubt, it's a stressful time. The build up to it and everything, it almost trickles down from that, that head teacher or that senior leader, trickles down all the way, senior leadership team to your middle leaders, going down to your practitioners and everything else like that. And it's really hard not to. I feel like that's lessened over the time. And I'm lucky enough that my head teacher is an Ofsted inspector as well. So we've got a little bit of intel there and what they might be looking for and things like that as well. But I feel like it has lessened, but it's a really stressful time. And it's just that, again, building that team, being supportive of each other around that time of, do you need to, if you're a senior leader or anything, pop to the shop, get some cakes or some biscuits or anything to throw in the side, because, people might have been up working late or anything, that they can just, they've forgotten their lunch, or have something in the staff room, and trying to treat everything that it's a normal day. Make sure that people are having their breaks and it's okay, even if, or in the room, if somebody has a break, that's what normally happens. Is how it actually runs.
Yeah, definitely. Keeping that calm. Yeah, trying to impact on that. So that Ofsted don't have as much of an impact on the day as maybe they could do if everyone was like up here and running around like headless chickens. But actually, like you said, that's not normal. That's not what actually happens on the day-to-day in the school. Do you think that the impact after Ofsted can be quite a lot, depending on which way it goes?
Yeah, definitely, because you've either got that, outstanding, good, that, you're a high, everyone celebrates a reason. And it really does make a difference in early years, because you have to have in a school, your early years provision is the highest grade that you can get. So if the rest of the school is outstanding, but your early years is good, you will only get an overall grade as good.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's a lot of pressure, especially on that, on your early years team and everything.
Yeah.
But quite often your senior leadership team, dare I say it, aren't early years sort of people usually, I have to say.
Yeah.
Where sometimes that focus isn't on early years throughout the time, and everything else like that has a massive impact then on Ofsted. Or you have that other version where it's, requires improvement or inadequate or anything, and then you're looking at, this big impact of what can you do to turn it around. Ofsted's coming back again, so you need to then make that, and that again can be then really stressful. What are you going to do to make that impact and be able to not to put your stresses then on your practitioners can be really hard as well.
Yeah, I think trying to figure out not maybe what went wrong, because sometimes it's the littlest thing and you kick yourself afterwards maybe because it doesn't normally happen or whatever it might be, but actually that impact afterwards could really demotivate a team, or You might have people come out of the industry because of what's happened. I mean, sometimes rightfully so, not the right place for them. So that's fine. We regroup, start again. But actually, sometimes I sometimes think that Ofsted can feel quite negative when it's supposed to be advisory as well.
I think that's the point of Ofsted. I think it lost its way along the years, and everything that's been happening in the recent news and everything else like that is become this massive thing, this massive stress on practitioners and teachers, head teachers, senior leaderships. And it's also been this massive thing on parents because they won't go to certain schools or certain nurseries if they don't have a good Ofsted, or if you've got simpler schools, one's got a good, one's got an outstanding, you're going to go to that outstanding one because that's what they assume. However, it doesn't always mean if you have an outstanding, I think they've currently just changed it, but you could have an outstanding school for 10 years and not get Ofsteded, which is craziness because there's a lot of change in 10 years, isn't it? Yeah, we'll trigger it if you got a new head teacher, but all the rest of the staff could change in that time, which is just bonkers. Or you can have a new curriculum, or you could have anything to come in.
Legislation changes, everything.
Yeah, and it can make such a difference to what that school is actually like. And that's then depending on where a parent is going to send their child, because that's what they have this impression of as an outstanding setting. It's crazy that like 10 years is an awfully long time, and it's something that I would probably, you'd like to think that parents would question. Like, I know you're outstanding, but what are you doing to keep that? Because it's been so long. I mean, there was a recent one that I sort of knew about that was outstanding because of COVID, prolonged, and then the Ofsted inspector rang and said, it's really difficult to get an outstanding now. And they hang on a minute, like, you've not even been here yet. Like, you've not even visited the setting. So how do you really pre-make your judgment before you've, like, I know the handbooks change and inspections change and it's different, but I don't know. I think that's already additional pressure. But like, let's not decide what we are before you were set through the door. Just because that's what we were, how do you know we haven't continued down that route? But I think, like you said, in recent news and things, it's a really negative light on Ofsted, whereas it should be a celebration of what you do. Yeah, I think it should just be given some advice. You know, it has this massive weight on it now, doesn't it? Yeah. That, like we say, parents, practitioners, everything else, then look at what you are graded as Ofsted-wise, rather than actually coming to visit the school, coming to visit the nursery and actually see it for yourself. What's the engagement like? What's the feeling? I just think it's that feeling when you walk into a place. You know it's for you or it's not, definitely. What's that? How have you been greeted? Have you got a warm welcome, a smile? And what's the office staff like even? Any of those things make such a difference than a bit of paper that says you're outstanding or that you're good or anything. Yes, it's one of those that it's, like you said, I think you should visit regardless of what it says online, what you've read, because like I said, that second you walk in, that first impression will tell you most of the things you need to know about the people that will be looking after and educating your child. How do you feel about the gradings? How do you think they represent people? Because I'm in a boat of, I'd rather they spent a week with a setting. I know they can't. I know that's a really unrealistic thing, but I think spending real quality time with the staff and the children and parents and spending longer than a day and then saying, oh, they're not good enough. Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. And it's almost whether or not it's a week, you know, over a whole week, or whether or not I think that it should just be more than one visit. Yeah, because you might be really having that day where you haven't got any staff members and this has happened and they're falling over there and there's parents that happens there. And it's just one of those times where actually that's not a snapshot. And Ofsted right now is such a snapshot of what your day looks like. And in reality, it could be completely different to that. If they just made, you know, even if it was like once a term, so you could actually, they could see themselves, the progression of their children or something like that, or, you know, once a month over 3 months or setting or something else like that. I think that would give them a better picture of what's actually happening in the setting, talking to some different parents, like you say, talking to the children, the practitioners, and almost having similar focuses every time, but you've done all of that safeguarding paperworky sort of side on a separate occasion. And then each time they come in to make sure that you can speak to some children, you can speak to some parents, speak to some practitioners, have a little play, get down and engage with them. Because in schools, they don't have to have any early years experience to be an Ofsted inspector. So you can be, again, graded by somebody who might be a secondary school teacher, who's got no phrase, absolutely no knowledge of early years, what early years looks like, what our learning looks like, or anything. And it's not, all secondary school teachers, I'm not saying that, but may have some knowledge of early years.
Yeah.
But the more than likely they don't.
And they're not what they specialise in, is it? It's not their age group. So, yeah, they've just read the EYFS and the Ofsted notes and they're like, right, let's go.
Yeah, they just make that snap judgment in that time. And it can be a half an hour time slot they've come to the early years, and that's it. That's their judgment straight away. And how that's going to make such a massive impact on then the rest of the school.
So is that sort of the time frame for early years in a school setting? Because obviously if it's a preschool or a nursery setting, they're there for the day. So in a big school or a primary school, your time slot can just be...
Yeah, so it's usually a 2-day visit. So day one, they'll do some deep dives. They'll do all the paperwork sort of side of things and things like that. And second day, they'll do some more deep dives and looks around. It will always be looking at phonics and early reading. So you're going to be the phonics leader is going to be brought in. More than likely, the EYFS leader is going to be brought in, and possibly speak to a couple of other teachers around to see how they teach phonics, observe phonics, speak to some of the children as well about looking at their books and which what levels they're on and things like that. And then they're going to choose something maths-wise and then 2 other non-core subjects. And then they look at that throughout, from early years throughout then the whole school. But it's based on 2 days, and it can be something like a half an hour and a 15-minute chat with the early years leader, or an hour in total. That sort of timing is what we're looking at to make that judgment.
Crazy, isn't it? So with the phonics of the reading and things, would that be your nursery or would that be the reception?
It would be both. So I would be going in with the phonics leader to explain what we do from nursery, how that then leads on to into foundation, how that then leads on to year 1. And that's when I will start saying what happens in foundation, and then go to year 1, and then the phonics leader would then take over from year 1 into year 2, and then go down to then English usually.
That's crazy, isn't it? Because in a nursery setting, we're always told, don't teach phonics, and don't even bother, because they're going to split off into so many different schools. They're all going to learn it in a different way, and the teachers have to undo it and start again. Whereas obviously because you're linked to the school, I guess it's the same program that follows.
Yeah, so we'll do like pre-phonics. So it's even talking through what we do, why we do that.
Yeah.
And where the children, if the children aren't there yet and ready for that, what then are they doing instead? So we talk through that, then how that leads on to then our actual phonics scheme, when they might start that. If the children are ready, we always have groupings that they are ready or they're not quite ready, and that's okay for them. The majority of our ones that come to our nursery do then attend our school. So the surrounding schools within our trust as well all teach the same phonics scheme. So lucky enough that feeds into all of them.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? Again, because that's the why. That's why we do it and how we do it. And it works for us, and it works really well for us. And it's getting that across, because there might be an Ofsted inspector who's read those guidance of, they shouldn't do it and do reception or whatever it is. And then you say, no, hang on a minute, this is why, this is what we do. And it's being confident enough to say, no, this works for us and our children develop, and this is how we do it if they're not quite at the level, and having the confidence to stand up for ourselves and say, thank you, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's about knowing your why and having the confidence to explain it, and to know that, no, I am doing the best for my children.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm doing it. This is what's best for them. And there you go. This is it.
Great, that's outstanding of me. Yeah, exactly. We are outstanding. Thank you very much. Have fun in year 1. So,
it's just all about just because you have that limited time as well, making sure that you're using your time well with that. So you do need to explain your why. You need to explain those key things. What are you doing for those children that aren't meeting it? What interventions you might have going on? Why you've got these interventions? What you do with parents' engagement? All of those things can be just all pushed into a 15-minute chat, and that's from nursery, foundation, and to year 1, year 2, and possibly then even going onwards.
It's crazy, isn't it, how we're expected to say all these things and they give you 15, 20 minutes. But you're like, no.
And also, during the day, we've got children to teach. That's the point. No, wait, these meetings after school or anything.
No, I completely agree with that, because sometimes the first thing I was taught when I was an apprentice was, doesn't matter if an Ofsted inspector's there, the children come first. So even if you are mid-conversation and you have to leave them, You're not being rude. You're not. You can go back to them, but the children have to come first with regardless of what they are asking of you.
Yeah.
Do you think some people forget that?
I do. I think it's just that pressure, and I think it needs to be, again, made more often that different people pop into the different rooms and you observe each other, and it's peer assessment and it's peer observation, and things like that. And that's a normal practice for you.
Yeah.
Because if it's not normal practice, somebody walks in the room and everyone just goes, oh, yeah. And they don't say anything. And it's okay that, oh, yeah, someone else is here. Yep, carry on with what I'm doing, or being silly, or singing a song. And it's having that confidence again to just carry on with what you're doing, because you know you're doing what's right for the children and what's best.
100%. I completely agree.
Do you think that your preparation
has been different in the different roles for an Ofsted day?
Massively different. So as a teacher role, I've had loads more preparation than I've had for any other role.
Right.
So we've had training already, like I said, from my head teacher, as well as separate training on phonics and early specific for Ofsted. Whereas my other roles, it's been very much just, they were saying, winging it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then hasn't been any training. Ofsted's going to come and you just carry on, but you're not really quite sure, and I don't really know what to do, and what do I do if they come, and should I answer a question, or what happens, what should I say if I don't know that question or the answer to the question. But I would again say that's probably because I was probably a quieter person. I hadn't had as much confidence or anything. So it's looking out for those staff members and practitioners to say, like, it's okay to say, I don't know the answer to that, let me find out for you.
Yeah.
Or I don't have that piece of information right now, but I've got it on my computer.
I know where to find that information.
Yeah, and it's those key phrases that's absolutely fine to do. It's okay to say, do you know what, I actually don't know that, but I know where to find it, or I know who to ask.
Yes.
And then coming back to them with that information.
Yeah, I think that's, like you say, those key phrases. So in your leadership role, do you make sure that you spend time with your team to make sure everybody feels confident and comfortable in the questions that might come at them?
Yeah, definitely. And that's been through training, through our team meetings, through general just chats, through going down to see them and talking about the activities and, building their confidence up, letting them know when we've had SIP visits, which is School Improvement Partnership, that person come in and, I'm talking to them and tend to come and showing them around the setting and things. I'm very, open to ideas. Come on in this way, showing them around everything. And everyone's like, oh, Hayley, what are you doing? Here she is again. Yeah. But I'm saying, this is why we're doing it, because this is going to help us, because this is another thing to make school improvements and everything ready for Ofsted, or ready for what we should be doing anyway, because why would I want us to get as much as we can, as best as we can?
Yeah.
We're here to improve. We're here to, what else can you suggest for us? Come and have a look. This is what we're doing right now. What else are you suggesting then for us? Because we just want the best for them.
No, I totally agree. And sometimes it's, oh, we got the outstanding, that's it. No, like, what else are we going to do? Like, let's just keep going. And I think it's right. We have got outstanding. We are doing an amazing job for our children, but there's always more. There's always more to learn. There's always more to develop on. And you're always going to have new children. So what you're doing outstanding for this group of children might not be outstanding for the next group who need a completely different not setting, because it's, but you know what I mean, a different centre for what you're doing, the way you're teaching them, what you're doing could be completely different. So it's what are you going to keep going at and motivate your team, I guess, for the next Ofsted.
Yeah, because every cohort's different. Or even throughout the year, they develop, they change, and you might need to, rearrange your furniture. You might need to, look at your actual environment. You might need to do some extra training if you've had a new member of staff, and consider the staff members that you've got in your team as well. How experienced are they? Have they seen Ofsteds? What's happened and everything throughout that time?
I think that's a really interesting one, isn't it? About how experienced are your team? Because I know so many people in early year settings who are qualified in leadership roles and have never done an Ofsted inspection because they've just missed it at the time of their change, like changing career, move settings, whatever it is. They've missed that Ofsted. So actually, they're not experienced with Ofsted. They're very experienced in early years. They've got all the knowledge behind them. They're fantastic. But it comes to an Ofsted day and they're probably one of the most nervous because they've never experienced it.
Yeah.
And that's so different. for everybody, I guess.
Yeah, and you just got to have that openness and within your team and everything that you can have those conversations and it's okay. And I know, I'm not teaching to suck eggs, but we're going to look at this again. And what can you tell me about it? And then a little bit of that training, a little bit of CPD. And then in which case, then have you got anything out of this? Tell me one key takeaway sort of thing as well. I just remembered this part of it at least. Or, it was really good to recap because of this reason.
Yeah. Do you think it's important to make sure your team are honest with the information they've digested?
Definitely, because you could be thinking, I'm doing a great job. We've got these tea meetings and they know this, they know that and everything. And actually, they're completely lost. Nobody's got a clue what's going on. And nobody knows what's going on. So it could well be, the information you're giving them is far too advanced for what they need. Or actually, you're giving them far too basic information for what they need. And it's okay then within team meetings or within anything else like that to then split off as well. We've done it before. So we've had some really experienced TAs that have gone to one meeting that we've set up, and then we've had some TAs new to the team and new to early years, which we've had working on some of the basics of EYFS. And that's okay because, again, like our children, practitioners need different things as well. Like they need a different CPD and it's okay that they need different things. It's okay that they're at different levels. It's just like the children that we work with.
I guess that kind of leads into my next question of the preparation. So as a lead, what would, and sort of the lead of you've got a big section to cover, what would your advice be to other early years leads for preparation?
So it's just about knowing what you might need. So looking at the handbook, what you might need and where you're going to be keeping it. So
that's really key. Where are you finding that information? Know where that folder is when they're asking for it.
Yeah, it depends if you're a paper person, if you're an online person, you're into Google Drive. So a Google Drive, I've got things in there and it's just things like, does everyone know what's going to be going on that day sort of thing, what's going to be happening? I've got our curriculum overviews in there. We've talked about as teachers and TAs as well, where that information is kept because they might need to access it too or to know where it is. We've got things like timetables in there as well. So if they say, what are you doing at this time? I can tell them which class is going to be where without even asking anybody that they might need to find. And it's just, you don't need loads of preparation. You don't need paperwork and more paperwork or anything else like that. It's just your basic things that you might need to remind yourself of, or how that might link into then year one, or how that links into the nursery, or how nursery, what they might come up with those skills. Or if they don't know those skills, then what comes before that? Have we got some sort of information there that might jig my memory that I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. I'm going to go on. Yes.
To think that preparation with your mindset on it has changed. Do you think like you said, your knowledge of it has grown? Do you think now you're like, no, I don't need to do much prep because I know I've got it?
Yeah, probably. So it comes with that confidence as well in knowing what you're doing is right for your children, knowing what you're doing is right for your school, your cohort, building up that confidence in talking to people about early years and having that also, that involvement and that empowerment from your senior leadership team as well to know that, right, Hayley's got this. I don't need to, worry about that or anything. And they'll be there to support me. We work very much in teams and everything, not one person. We don't have subject leaders. In our school, we work as team leaders and subjects. So you'll have more subjects, but you'll work across early years, Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. So you'll never go into a meeting by yourself. So you've got other people to bounce off and pick you up on different questions and things like that, which is really useful. But yeah, it comes with that confidence and knowing, believing in yourself that, I am actually doing a good job and I am actually doing the right thing for my children. I do know what I'm doing and I'm amazing.
Yeah, I think you're so right. It's that confidence of being able to say to someone, I'm doing a good job. Let me show you. Not you don't need to try and find why I'm doing a good job, because I'm going to lay it all on the table for you and show you why I'm doing a fantastic job for these children.
Yeah, definitely. And having that visitor or having that Ofsted inspection person coming in, a sick visitor or anything else, anybody coming in, welcoming them as they come in, this sort of thing, can you come sort of thing, or what do you want to see? Or do you want me to take you around and show you what's going on today? And just start talking at them, we've done this because of this reason, then, you can see this is to here and everything. And they'll ask questions if they want to know any questions.
Yeah, if you've not given them the answer already, I have to say, the Ofsted inspectors I've come across have been very good at guiding questions when they know you've got the answer, but you've not quite said it. So they'll guide you in a way of getting you to that. So they don't I don't think any Ofsted inspector goes in, I hope they don't, with the thought of, I want this place to fail.
Yeah. They don't want to trick you. They want to have the right answer.
Yeah, exactly. They are human beings as well doing their job, but it is a lot of pressure on everybody sometimes. I think when they walk through the door, it's like you said, welcoming them in, that makes such a difference. And it eases your nerves if you get the first word in.
Yeah. And it's just knowing your team, what works well for your team and practitioners, because is somebody going to be really nervous and actually they'd rather you not go up to them and talk to them on that morning or anything because they're in their little zone. Yeah, just leave them be. They're prepping, they're doing their thing. This person, is being a busybody and that's good for them. This person, they need that, that calm down, that it's okay, you've got this, you know what you're doing, and just keep doing what you're doing and all of that. And just knowing your team and what works well for them.
That's a really good leadership tip, I think, because it's not just knowing the children, it's not just knowing the routine of the day, because everybody knows that happens every day. But it's like you said, as the leadership, right? Which member of our team needs a hug?
Yeah.
Who needs to go and have 5 minutes and have a cup of tea? Like who's on it and bubbly and ready is knowing who you need to direct your time to as well, I guess. And what would you say for somebody not in a leadership role? How would you expect your team to prep for Ofsted?
Just be there. Turn up on time. Don't go and sit that day. Those really simple things. They don't need to, ask questions if they've got them. Yeah. No question is a silly question. I'd rather you ask the question to me than, ask the question to Ofsted, please. But no questions is a silly question. Ask those questions now, ask those questions always throughout that time. Show them what you know as well. You will have that confidence, and I hope that I empower them as well to have that confidence to speak to the Ofsted inspectors and to, do you want to come and see this as well? So then I might be talking to them, but, say hello to and give them that smile. Treat it like any other day. Just be themselves. And if they've got any questions, just ask.
Yeah. And what about in the lead-up? What do you expect? Do you expect your team to do extra research? Do you expect them to, or do you want them to be able to come to you and say, oh, hey, I'm not 100% on this. Can we?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything in particular that, like I said, we are not doing anything different just for Ofsted.
No.
And nor should we have to. It's going to be a normal running day. And throughout the weeks, throughout the months, throughout the half terms, throughout the year, I'll be trickling things in to team meetings that they won't know, that might be for Ofsted. So it'll be like those, where's that Google document that I need? So I think, it's in the Google Drive, it's called EYFS, everyone's got access to it. In there's everything that you need. And just that reminders, it won't be, this is for Ofsted and these are things you need to know. Building up their confidence for it, knowing when there's other visitors coming in to be like, can you lead this one and sort of thing today? I've just got to see this child or anything, I've got to deal with this minute. Building up and empowering them to have their conversations too and to know.
I think that's another really good tip of having people know the knowledge, about realising that they know the knowledge. Like when someone says, if you've got a safeguarding concern, who do you go to? And they go, I've not worded it like that before, but actually I remember Hayley, we went for a staff instructor and I know exactly who I'm going to. It's this person. And it's there in their brain because you've talked about it so casually and the norm rather than a pressure of, you've got to remember all this information or just the staff and being able to say, I know where the safeguarding board is, and if I've ever got any concerns, I know exactly who's on there because the ladder's on there and I can go to that space and have a look at it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's about knowing your team and what's best for them.
Yeah.
But for me, it's, that drip feeding throughout week on week and knowing what's going on and giving them the empowerment and the confidence to be able to do that rather than a sit down hour-long course or hour-long something that's going, write all this down and remember it. Yeah, this is what I said, right? Drilling it into them, feedback that they're going to need to know. That's not what my team need sort of thing. So,
do you feel like you know your team quite well, the current team that you've got in place?
Yeah, definitely. We are getting a new team in September, but again, it's been some of the team are just swapping around between nursery and foundation, so we've gone to year one. So I think that development onto year one is going to be really strong as well now for next year. We've got a new teacher, but she's been trained with us she's been doing her degree 3 years with our schools. She was a parent as well, so really good, relationship with her already. We have got one new TA coming to us in nursery. So it's just, it'll be about focusing on, right, let's see where she's at. What information does she need to know about the school, about the running, about Ofsted, about, anything at early years, right? Where's her CPD levels at and what can we do to help her out?
Do you take pride in how much you develop your staff? Not just ready for Ofsted, but just in general, how much you help staff to develop in their roles?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's come from, like my head teacher is so empowering of me and pretty much leaves me to do what I want in the most time and just is, has that belief in me that I'm going to do the best for what I do and looks for different opportunities for me as well. So I am an NPQ EYL facilitator. So I teach him the course. I wouldn't have even known about it if it would have been him sitting on the board and recommending me to do that. Yeah. So him doing that to me makes me want to do it to my staff.
Yeah.
And it's been in all of those other roles, having been a nursery nurse, being a TA, being a one-to-one, sometimes having those experiences where I've had not such a great experience and using them to be like, I don't want to treat other people like that.
Definitely.
I want to feel valued. I want to feel, like I'm worthy or I'm doing a good job and all of those things. And it's just a simple thank you. It's just a simple something. People, again, respond to praise in different ways. What they like and what I like to give and things like that could be different. And it's knowing what your staff want, do, say and thank you. It's a hard job early years. Not everyone should do it. So I think that's as well really important. It's not for everyone. And that's okay. Like, we're not going to find, not every single person that walks through the door in an early years environment is going to stick and going to love it as much as what we do. But the people that do love it, it's about empowering them to want to continue on their early years journey. Definitely. I think it's just having that passion as well. And then, like me and you can't help but be passionate without talking about it. And you just sometimes want to tell everyone that it's all radiates out of you and they'll pass it on to everybody else. And they think, oh God, Hayley's blabbing on again about early years. But yeah, I am. So, and they pick up on those things. And it's even about CPD things. Like, people don't realise how much CPD is. CPD could be listening to this podcast right now. CPD could be looking on social media or reading an article. It doesn't have to be an actual day training or a course or anything else like that. And for a really experienced TA, I once had to be like, I've actually got this article. They came in, they shared it with us all and everything. She's like, that's a bit of CPD, isn't it? And she got really proud of herself because she hadn't considered that before, about that being a bit of CPD. I was like, yes, because you're reading something about early years or about schools or about education that you may then form an opinion of, or you may then share that key piece of information on, or anything else like that. It's all CPD stuff.
No, I definitely agree. And it's logging all of that. It's logging and everybody knowing that is CPD and that is going to improve your practice in some way, because like you said, you formed an opinion or you shared it with a colleague who's going to go and take it and do things with it. And it's moving forward of, like, that's really good. Like, you've done something for yourself, for the children, and it's having a log of this is how we improve ourselves so that we can do more for the children.
Yeah, it's all about sharing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's really done well within early years, is that sharing that, those little key bits of information, little bits of CPD, tagging people in different things and things like that is done really well with early years. I don't have any experience, so I don't know so much in the higher up in the year groups or anything, but that teamwork and everything is so important to get right in early years and to make work, because if it's wrong, then it can be quite critical to what's happening, what's the impact then on the children and their learning.
I think it's like you said, that teamwork is really key, because as I said, I don't have any experience higher up with older children, so I'm just like, what goes on over there. But for us, it's having that team bonding and sharing ideas is always a positive, because not everyone's going to have the same opinion on things, and that's absolutely fine. But if you've all read it, you can all take something different from it, or you've all watched the same video or listened to the same podcast. Everyone pulls something different from it and it will feed in. So it's like you said, that community and teamwork in early years is so important, because it always benefits the children one way or the other.
Definitely. And circling back round to, your opinion might change over time as well. Yeah, that's okay, because you can develop your own pedagogy, you can develop your own style and everything else like that. And what you thought was really important one time or last year, actually you're seeing why actually for this school, you might move schools or nurseries, or actually for this cohort of children, it's actually really not important right now, and this is taking a step up now instead.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So to round off for Ofsted and getting ready and being a team, what would be your top 3 tips on getting ready for Ofsted?
So definitely read the handbook for anybody and then share those. Just keep bits of information, bite-sized little bits of information, drip feeding them to your team. Know where your information is kept, whether that's a folder, whether that's a Google Drive, whatever you're using. Have a few bits just to jog your memory or anything, and just sharing that stuff with the team. Know your why. Why are you doing this for your children?
Yeah.
What impact does it have? Why are you doing it? That's the main thing.
Yeah, knowing those children, and like you said, where everything is. And if you're confident in what you're doing, then just got to go and show them what you're doing.
Show them what you're doing. Believe in yourself that you're doing the right job.
Yeah,
because you are, okay?
Yeah, exactly. Emily and Hayley said so. So that's what you can say. They told me I'm doing a great job.
So must be. Yeah, that's the one.
And I have one last question that I ask all of my guests that have joined so far on the podcast. And because we talk all things early years, what is one of your favourite childhood memories?
Okay, so I was thinking about this one, and I think it's a bit weird. Okay, that's fine. There's no judgment. I don't have a very good memory anyway. But one of my first memories is it was snowing outside because I love the snow. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
And I had trapped my finger I had trapped my hand in the door before, and I remember having purple prickles all over my fingers, little dots or anything, and I really wanted to go and play in the snow, and my teacher wouldn't let me go and play in the snow. I didn't have no foundation or anything, and I was really sad about it or anything. And then this TA came over, and they put a plastic bag over it, and then I was allowed to put my glove on so I wouldn't feel the cold through my fingers or anything. And I had such a great time going to play in the snow, and I really felt that, just excitement and just joy of playing in the snow, being outside, like before having that such sadness of looking at all my friends out there, mostly sitting down at do you think that's played a part on you being such a caring person towards children? Yeah, I think all of those things, whether it's this natural nature or other going on, but I always say then, rainbows, brownies, girl guiding as a whole has had a massive impact on my life and where I've ended up going to, being part of that, being part of that sense of belonging and everything to groups, to then early years, to teaching children, to all of those different roles has had an impact on where I am now, really.
No, I agree. I was a rainbow brownie and a guide as well, so it must be something we all do. It does. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode all about the big Ofsted. I really, really appreciate you coming across and seeing us, and hopefully we can get Hayley back for series 2 if she'll join us, and we can talk. We've got so many things we could talk just about on now. So I hope everyone's managed to take something from this episode. And if you might be getting ready for an Ofsted, you might have just had one, you're reflecting, but Ofsted inspections, I don't think they're ever going to stop. So one way or the other, we're going to have to keep preparing. And so I hope that you've been able to take some of Hayley's top tips and use them in a positive way for your settings. So thank you so much for listening, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.